Hello, Dr. Moore. The particular intro that I'm actually going to talk to you about is potential management, expanding your perception of your potential. Now, at the end of the day, potential is really about what you believe your potential is. What is your inner self-image of yourself? And what standards you're going to create for yourself. For example, there is external standards where maybe you work really hard to get an A in a class, but that standard is the standard of the professor and what information they believe that you should know to reach that particular standard of an A. But there's also internal standards, and that's what do you believe internally is your best effort? And are you really pushing yourself to be the best that you possibly can be? And so, when I was in college, everyone wants to get good grades. But at the end of the day, I really wanted to understand the concepts that I was learning because I knew I wanted to go to grad school someday and discover things. And so my standard was really curiosity of asking questions and trying to come up with some kind of comprehensive conceptual model of the world around us, life sciences and the physical sciences. And so I really wanted to understand everything that I was learning and figure out if there's some kind of cohesive, unified way of understanding energy and understanding all these cool things that we learn as students of science. And subsequently, I got good grades, but it wasn't the grades that were motivating me. It was that internal standard of saying, how can I prepare myself to be able to use this information later? And the other thing about this particular lesson is going through, figure out, and identifying bad habits, because there's bad habits that sometimes limit our potential, and learning how to manage those in a way where we can still be at our best. And then the kind of third part of this particular lesson deals with that negative talk, learning how to identify and maybe reprogram parts of ourselves that maybe say that we're not good enough, where sometimes we may self-sabotage ourselves and maybe not push ourselves to the highest level. So through that and the homework assignment in the end, I really believe that you're able to not only identify and manage your emotions in a way where you can eliminate those bad habits, but also do that reprogramming where you can reach that highest potential that you believe that you can reach. Because at the end of the day, I want you to win. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so what is this picture, do you believe? This lesson's on potential management, expanding your perception of your potential. What do you think the illustrator is trying to get across in that picture?
Overcoming struggles.
Overcoming struggles, okay. Anybody else want to add or subtract anything from that?
The person who you are not be the person who you will be after you learn your knowledge.
So the person you are now may be someone different after you get knowledge or wisdom.
Yes,
Okay. And I'll be honest with you. I remember as an undergraduate student, I used to always ask myself, what is it going to be like after I get my degree? Like, how am I going to feel? Am I going to be a different person? And so what was interesting is that after I got my undergraduate degree, I was like, kind of feel the same, right? I mean, I'm sure I changed some, but I kind of felt the same. So then I'm like, well, what is it going to feel like after I get my graduate degree? What is it going to feel like after I get a PhD? And I really feel like the core part of me was the same. I just had the ability to think differently, think more comprehensively. And so it'll be interesting how you guys may either think about those things or not, because I'm half crazy. I think about different stuff. All right, so let me have someone read that very first quote for us real quick by Arthur Clarke.
The only way to discover the limits of the possible is to go beyond them into the impossible.
All right, so what do you think Arthur is saying, Jessica?
You need to try something that you think is impossible to see how far you can.
Okay. Anybody else? What are you thinking, Andrew?
What I get out of this is that the only way that you're gonna see your full potential is to push yourself beyond the limit, like keep pushing to the next limit.
Yeah, and I like that. And so what's interesting is that, when I first started taking calculus, like if this is my perceived limit, right? It was like each day I was trying to learn calculus, right? I'm like, this is complicated, this is different. So each day I'm kind of like banging my head trying to get to the other side over here, right? Where I actually can have understanding. And I would pop to the other side, so I'm here, but then I would miss, 3 days of studying, and I would pop right back down to the part of no understanding, or I don't understand as much, right? It almost seems like it's kind of like in chemistry where you have electrons or photons that get activated to the next energy state. They pop up, but they can pop back down to the lower state. But then after you spend a lot of time in the calculus course, and maybe the next semester tutor somebody in calculus, like you stay here, right? You stay at this higher level, but then you're like, okay, well, maybe now my limit's up here. And then you get here, and then maybe you realize that it's up here. So a lot of times, what we believe our limit is our own perception of what we believe it is. Because whatever you think your limit is right now, in my mind, is theoretical. Like this is what I think it is, but when you then achieve and you actually get to the upper ends of that, then you realize, oh, well, there's so much more I can do. And I feel like that's the beauty of life, right? Like if you always push yourself, like Arthur is saying in this quote, to grow, right? If you find a way each day to be a little better than you were the previous day, then you stack that over the course of years, that's a whole lot of power, right? That's a whole lot of knowledge, there's a whole lot of wisdom that you're accumulating. But we still have to figure out how to do that, right? How to push ourselves where we can get a little bit better every day. All right, so question number 1. A standard that one sets for accomplishing a goal, task, or activity can be external, right? It can be based on the standard of this professor. My standard is whatever the standard of the professor is, and them getting it, me getting to a place where I can get an A in their class, that's my standard. Or it could be an external standard, it could be a number. My standard is I want to have a 4.0 grade point average. So it can be something outside of you. It could even be a standard of what your parents may say they want you to do. Or it can be an internal standard. So it can be a criteria that comes from within you, something that you create. And so what do you believe, what is your standard for how you set success in college for the courses that you're taking, these STEM courses? What is your a standard internal? Is it external? Think about that real quick and talk to me. What do you think? Is it Miriam, right?
Internal one would be trying to get an E in chemistry this semester, get better scores on my exams, which so far I've
So your internal standard is I want to get a B in this course? Okay. Why do you want to get a B?
It helped me feel successful that I'm like being able to understand the knowledge more than I did last semester.
Okay. And how did you come up with that standard?
It was kind of the standard I had for myself in high school.
Okay.
So it's kind of been in my head already, but now I'm just pushing more to it because I feel like I fell back on it for a while.
Okay. So it's a standard you came up with in high school and it's transferred over to college. Okay. Anybody else? What kind of standard do you have?
I mean, I always try to aim to pass my classes with like an A.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to.
And where did that come from? Was it something that was instilled in you from?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So maybe is it maybe an external standard? Maybe your parents or your family said this is what we want to see you achieve from an academic standpoint.
I think it's more like myself trying to push myself to like do my best.
Okay. Anybody have anything different? Good.
During my talk in U Chicago, there's a person who had what they call cybersecurity plus certified. And then me as someone else, I'm looking at her externally that she knows something about cybersecurity.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I feel like whoever finished calculus, they should have certain knowledge on derivative, integral, so on and so forth. Internally, when I'm taking the course Calculus 2, I want to get comfortable on a couple integration techniques. Right, that's coming from me. I want to get comfortable on that.
All right, so it seems like you're saying that, Alan, that you looked outside of yourself and you had somebody who does cybersecurity and was able to have a certain standard of how they may look at that profession and or utilize math. But you're saying in this calculus class this semester, you want to be able to understand integration and integrals to apply it at some point. Is that correct or no?
Yeah, and another interesting thing is when I actually be able to comprehend the textbook, there's a line of sentence really open up my mind. It states that not all integral can be solved.
Okay.
Well, that kind of give me some internal hints of like what integral can be solved, cannot be solved.
So it seemed like you were also saying that based on you learning the calculus and what rules that they may have potentially for integrals and if they can be solved or not is creating a curiosity for you in regards to which ones can be solved and which ones can't be. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I feel like whoever finished calculus will be able to identify that.
Okay. All right, so when I was in college, I had an internal standard. And my internal standard is I want to know everything. Everything that's in this course, in this book, I want to know it all. Because I want to be a scientist someday that's able to create and discover. And I don't know what I'm going to need to know now and what I'm going to need to know 10 or 15 years from now. So I want to know it all. My internal standard is I want to find a unified theory that connects the math that I'm learning to the physics that I'm learning, to the chemistry that I'm learning, to the biology that I'm learning. I want to understand how these things are all interconnected to one another. That's my internal standard. It wasn't the grade for me. Now, because my internal standard was to understand those things at a deep level, I got good grades. But that wasn't driving me to stay up late and try to understand every single concept that I was learning and try to create an analogy or a metaphor for every single concept that I was learning. It was so it could be sticky in my mind so I could keep it for years to come. Because I don't know what I'm going to need to know 10 or 15 years from now. Right? I believe, and you can take a look and think about this, you know, some of the great artists, some of the great athletes, you know, when you think about Picasso or Beethoven, do you think that they were looking outside of themselves and thinking, when I create this music, I want the masses to love it? I should change this up so they could be okay with it? Do you feel like or think that the person who was painting that mural was like, I want somebody else to think that this is cool? I believe Picasso was like, every stroke meant something to him. He felt something internally. And when that last stroke was done, he's like, boom, it's done. I feel that like this was a masterpiece. Then you have people like Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods. When they were at the very top of their sports profession, Michael Jordan went back and redid his three-point shot. He was still the best. Tiger Woods went back and redid his swing. He was still the best because something inside of them said, I can be better. It doesn't make a difference if your standard is internal or external. You have to find ways to push yourself to be better. Externally, it may be you comparing yourself to some of the best people out there and saying, I want to be better than them. That's fine. If that gets you to be the best you can be. But what I'll also suggest is you don't know what you're capable of. You think you may have an idea what you're capable of, but you really don't know until you push yourself. And then you may realize you're capable of way more than you ever thought you were. Talk to me, y'all. What y'all thinking? Yep.
I remember the first time I touched a real weapon, the M9 gun. Yeah, I was just thinking there's no way I can shoot that. It's impossible. And in reality, yeah, when I first shot it, I almost shoot myself and my peers.
That's not good.
Because I wasn't handling the, what's it called, recoil correctly. And that wherever trained me to just observe and just stand there. And then I was shooting that blast. At the end, after I learned how to properly feel that record, I will be able to get my marksmanship.
Nice. All right, let's go. Go ahead.
So with the limits and all that, and so it's kind of crazy because I like sometimes when I go through things and I read quotes and all that, and there was so the physicist Richard Feynman, he said that basically there is no limit. What he says is if you keep learning and learning and learning, soon you're going to learn something that nobody's learned before. And that's kind of what, you know what I mean? There isn't, you get caught up in the moment. And I'll be honest with you, like I obsess over my grades. Like I can't sleep good if I'm, you know what I mean? I do, and it seems like everything is so fast paced, and it's like, as I move forward too, like I'm the same way. Like I'll get an A in the class, but then it's like a lot of stuff I didn't retain, and it's like that it messes with me though. You know what I mean? Like if I had the ability to, I probably would retake some classes that I got A's in. You know what I'm saying? Because there's something, I don't know what it is. It's like I'm trying to get the grades because I do want to go to a good school and like, you know what I mean, and get a good job and all that. But it's like I don't feel like I should be even in the next level until I've mastered everything in that subject that I just took. You know what I mean? And I don't know. That's just that's one of the things that I fight too. You know, and
Well, what I would say, Andrew, is that that is an internal standard that you have that's within you. Maybe you have a goal of getting an A in a class, but you just even stating that you understand there's things that you haven't mastered and you want to go back and relearn it, that's a whole lot different because you already got the A that this professor said that you need to have to move on, but there's something inside of you saying, there's things I want to go back and relearn. There's things that I want to further make a connection to. So I'm just stating that up front, that like, not everyone has that.
One of the things that
And really quickly, not only that not everyone has that, a lot of people, right when they actually get that grade, they're like, oh, now I'm free to forget all that and move on to the next material. Go ahead.
So one of the things though that I do have to like remind myself is there's times like where I went through a class and it's like, okay, I got the grade, you know, onto the next thing, and it's like, but I really didn't get all this, and it's like I just have to be patient because it ends up popping up again somewhere else, and then it's like, okay, so this concept that I've struggled with really hard, trying to understand it, I haven't even touched it for months, and now I see it again, and I'm like, I don't know how I struggled with that now, and that sometimes it just, some people say take a break, walk away, sometimes it's more than a walk away from me, sometimes it's months of not seeing it again, and then it comes back and it's like, it just clicks, you know, so that's one of the things that I have to continue to tell myself is as long as I just keep moving forward, those things are going to keep coming around and I'll eventually get it.
And I'm glad that you shared that, Andrew, because that's kind of how we're all built, right? Like it's impossible to have absolute knowledge of something right when you're learning something new that has a lot of depth to it. Right? But the beauty is that when you're learning these new things, or you're seeing something that is new but overlaps with something you've seen before, you're going back and trying to make the connection, right? You're going back saying, hold on, what does this mean to me now? That's how you win.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people won't take the time to do that, right? But you're actually saying, I know there's gaps there, and I want to fill those gaps in. And you do have to be patient. You know, I equate learning science where science is a big ocean, right? It's vast. There's so much stuff to learn. And what do you guys get parachuted into the ocean. So you're sitting there in the ocean and you're kind of like treading water and you're like, okay, well, I'm learning chemistry, and general chemistry is talking about these covalent bonds, and there's energy there that's holding these bonds together. But then I'm taking biology, and they're saying there's adenosine triphosphate, ATP, and that phosphate comes off from the enzyme, and poof, there's energy there. Then I take physics, and I learn about kinetic energy, and I learn about energy in a more granular way. Right? Like, you kind of have to, each course, they're just giving you a little bit. They're not giving you. You don't have the math background right away to be able to go into quantum physics and understand it from a mathematical standpoint. You have to kind of trust the process, right? And then maybe when you get to that end of your undergraduate career, you're like, oh, this is what energy means to me now. But you just have more pieces to the puzzle, right? In this vast ocean of just stuff. So, you gotta be patient. It'll come.
That's how one of the tutors, because I remember when I was going to tutoring, and it's like they just keep dumping this stuff, and it's like I'm not getting everything, and it just keeps moving. He was like, yeah, it's kind of like they just take a sponge and they dump this gallon of water on you and expect you to soak all the way. You know what I mean?
So, my advice to you, Andrew, is just be patient, right? Like, it's not a race, it's a marathon, right? Like you're gonna have a chance for the rest of your life to marinate on some of these things and more things, and let your mind put it together in the way that's unique to you to be the best engineer that you can be. You feel me? Like you have time, right? And as long as that a part within you that's saying, I want to know more, or I want to fill in the gaps where they exist, or I want to further make a connection, as long as that part, that curiosity part, of that part of you that wants to do that stays intact, you're good, right? Like, that's all you could care about. All right, so Question 3. I think that we kind of talked about this a little bit. Is your potential fixed or can it change? But I think we kind of talked a little bit about believing that potentially it can change. Does anybody believe that their potential is fixed? Because I'm controversial. So whatever decide y'all gonna take, I'm gonna switch up and go to the different side. Max, I feel like there's something you want to say it. You got permission.
That's like all you have, right? Maybe you can drive from it and make it, you can expand on it, but I think like the potential might be just what you have, and then you have to like work with what you have to make whatever bigger picture work.
Okay, does anybody agree with that?
Like you play to your attributes, that's right.
Because there's truth to what he's saying. Of course, again, I'm going to be controversial because that's what I like to do and it's fun. But one of the books that I used to use a lot in this program, and maybe I should bring it back, but it's called Now Discover Your Strengths. And it was revolutionary when it came out probably about 15, almost 20 years ago. But basically what they said is that to have a strength is something that you can see, you can have near perfect perfection every time you do it. And it's made out of 3 components. There's talent. So talent, if you want to think about it, is your genetics. It's a reoccurring thought. It's a reoccurring feeling. It's a reoccurring activity. Right? Like you think about, there's hundreds of thousands of thoughts that we have each day. Right? And the ones that are reoccurring are the ones that are more dominant in your space, right? People who are organized, really organized, that's a reoccurring thought and feeling that they have. They're like, oh, I need to organize this. Other people are like, nah, I think I'm good with the clutter, right? People who think strategically, there's all these things are reoccurring thoughts, feelings, or activities. And then the next thing is knowledge. So there's experiential knowledge. There's knowledge that you learn through doing stuff. And you get mastery and you learn from that. And there's also factual knowledge. That's what you guys are learning right now when you're taking these math and science courses, right? You're trying to learn, I'm saying factual knowledge, but things that are right now at saying that these are the laws of the universe, right? Of biology, of life sciences. And then the third thing is skill. And all a skill is steps towards doing something. Someone who's done something before broke it down into some steps. Then you're saying if you do step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, then you can accomplish that goal, right? Or that objective. So out of these 3, if all of these are needed to have a strength, to develop something into a strength, which one you think is the most critical?
Knowledge.
Okay, we have knowledge here. Anybody else? Where you at, huh?
Skill. Maybe skill.
Skill? Okay, Max is thinking skill. Anybody else want to get controversial and pick talent?
I mean, I would pick talent just because of your thoughts. Like you said, you have so many thoughts per day, and it's like, what are you feeding into your, that's what's going to give you the motivation. Basically, right there.
So the talent, just like Andrew is saying, suggesting, it's a reoccurring thought. You're not going to get anything to near perfect perfection unless it's reoccurring all the time, right? Skill set and knowledge, those things are going to change, but it's not going to get you perfection unless it's a genetic part of how you're made up that's saying, do this every time. The thing about the human brain is the only organ in the body that starts off big and gets smaller as we get older. Like before you're born, you have the most brain cells you will ever have. And then by the time you hit 3, then it starts to reduce itself down. So you can imagine when you're born, you take a 2 or 3 year old and you throw them in Europe where they're like right in the middle of 4 different countries.
young age, we have the ability to just absorb everything. We're really vulnerable to our environment, to all these things. But guess what? As that brain gets smaller, then you create logic. It begins to process things faster. And what it does is it creates in your mind, you have highways where things can travel along this highway at 200 miles per hour. Those are the talents. But the things that aren't your talents, because our brains can be elastic and grow, end up being streaks. That maybe you only can go 25 miles per hour. So it's the difference between you knowing naturally how you think when you're solving a problem and understanding this is the approach my mind likes to take. You know, maybe I'm more of a system thinker and I'm more methodical and logical, right? I tend to like to play on that left brain side. Or maybe you have more of that intuition and creativity like an artist and you like to play on that right brain side, right? You start a math problem and the teacher says you should do these steps, but you're like, you know what? I think I can skip this and just go here with it. Or maybe you have a little bit of both. And after you solve the problem, you may look at the person next to you and say, well, how did you solve that problem? Oh, wow, you did it differently than me. I want to understand your logic. And now I'm going to absorb your logic and say, boom, now that's mine. But that logic in my mind is still a street. I can go 25 miles an hour, but it's not the way that my mind naturally likes to think, but I still can absorb that and expand my ability to have tools to problem solve. But this is where you get the cooking. And in my mind, your job is to identify what your talents are so you can develop those into strengths. Because I believe winning in this lifetime, in this space, is being extraordinary at your way of thinking, where no one in the world thinks like you. No one in the world has the same combination of DNA as you. So you have latent abilities stored in your DNA that no one else on this planet has. And even if you're a twin, you can go into mitochondrial DNA, which is going to be different. We ain't going to go there. I'm just letting you know, no one has the same combination, right? So when you identify 5 of these talents and you become extraordinary at 5 things, thinking strategic, you know, being able to have command over a room, whatever those things are, then you can transfer those into anything that you do in life. I want you guys to think about this. Just put a mental note in your mind. If you come across people in your life that are really good at what they do, say it's a CEO, say it's a cardiologist, say whoever it is, if you ask that person what they're good at, I'm pretty sure they can articulate the things that they're really good at. And guess what? If you ask me the things that I'm really good at, I can articulate real quick and easy the things that I'm good at. And if I'm actually trying to get something done, if I actually have to move into a project area, I'm going to think about the areas that fit the things that I'm really good at. I'm going to place myself right there to win. Every time. Why wouldn't I? You feel me, Andrew? Every time. So, anyway, things to think about, right? All right, what was your question?
Oh, you said that thoughts are recurrent. Oh, that they change over time.
So it's one way to think about this, and everyone's different because I don't know the thoughts that you have in your mind. But if I'm thinking about myself and I'm thinking about me saying that my standard is to understand how all knowledge is interconnected to one another. When I'm learning something new, how do I connect that to existing knowledge? That's a reoccurring thought that happens no matter what I'm learning, right? I could also say that a reoccurring and feeling a thought for me too is creating analogies and metaphors for anything that I'm learning new. I can't stop myself from doing that. If you even notice, when you guys give me a statement or answer a question, I automatically rephrase it into my own words. It's automatic to me. And if you're teaching me something, I will automatically say, oh, so it's similar to this. And I will create my own connection to something that means something to me based on what you're trying to teach me. Does that make sense? That's what I mean by a recurring thought. I'll give you another example. I realize that I have dyslexia. And the form of dyslexia I have is my ability to take a look at symbols and words and translate conceptually into what they actually mean or understand. I have a hard time looking at a new word and then pronunciating it. And my workarounds was just going into dictionary.com and hitting pronunciation and hearing it, and then I'm like, okay, that's what it sounds like. But I will chop that word up every time. If I'm looking at a new word, I'm like, I don't know what this is. I'll just make some stuff up, right? So it takes me an extra second or two to make that translation. So when I was learning about this form, I was talking to a woman who's she's a psychologist that was telling me about this. I said, so this is similar to someone who has perfect pitch. Someone who has perfect pitch, right when you play a C sharp or a B flat, they know instantly what that note is. Their mind doesn't have to process that hard because whatever genes they have perfect pitch. But I played an instrument for 6 years, 7 years. I played the trumpet, I played the violin. So if you played that note to me, I still could figure it out, but it would take me 2 or 3 seconds. My mind would have to process. And she was like, damn, I never thought about that before, but that's correct. But again, that's what I do when I'm learning something new. And when I do that, then I own it. If that makes sense. So, things to think about. Any questions, any thoughts before we move on? All right. So, number 4. We want to start to think about what are the negative habits that we have that are stopping us for reaching our potential. Right? We all got negative habits. Right? I mean, even though I was in school many moons ago, before most of y'all was born, the things that I had to stay away from when I was in school that would actually stop me from studying were video games and, at the time, music videos. Right? Like, I would be on MTV, BET, like real late at night watching movie videos. I should be studying right now, right? Or I'd be playing video games. And folks is competitive. So even when I was at Berkeley, there was this program I was in, and they had this room with these computers in it, and they had Tetris on it, right? So folks is in there, no matter what, folks is competitive, right? So it was funny because people were trying to get the high score for Tetris, and my boy, one of my friends, he got the high score, and he blew the score off by another 10,000 points. Right? So he was in his mind, I'm King Tut, what I'm saying? I got the highest score. We going in the finals and stuff. Ain't nobody, and he had I think the name of his, on the high score was my name, I'm the best, right? So on the under, I beat his score, right? And didn't say nothing about it. Honestly, nothing about it, right? So we're studying for finals. He's going to the center, and he's like, "Oh, let me just check Tetris and just check my name at the top." And he looked, and he was like, I said, "Oh, sorry, bro. I won, you lost. That's what's up, right?" But I know that like I wasted a whole lot of time playing this video game, right? I should be studying right now. So we all have negative habits, but we have to figure out not only how to identify them, but how to find ways to work around them. So, negative habits. Talk to me, y'all. Phone? Okay. What else? Y'all act like y'all ain't got no negative habits. Y'all should be just throwing stuff at me.
Video games.
All right. They haven't changed. Video games.
YouTube videos.
Okay. Videos.
TikTok, short videos.
I'll just put social media. What else? Procrastination. Don't act like y'all don't be procrastinating. Some folks in here wait to the last moment every time. What else? How about you?
Watching TV.
Okay, TV.
Doing stuff last minute.
Okay, what was your procrastination? Okay, wait, last minute.
Sleeping too much.
Okay,
No, sleeping too late.
okay. I'll just throw out time management.
Yeah. With like lack of motivation being one.
Yep. Anything else? Okay, this is a pretty good list. So, how do we figure out techniques and strategies to manage this list?
Discipline.
All right. So when you say discipline, you gotta give me a little.
Like disciplining yourself, like you know you gotta get your work done, so you gotta like tell yourself, you like lock it down, like
Okay, create.
lock in.
I like that lock-in part.
Motivate yourself.
All right. So when you say motivate,
Like just hyping yourself up, like telling you like, oh, you know, if you do this, or you know, you can put like another one like business before pleasure.
okay.
So you just do your work first, and then do whatever you want after, because it's like a quick 30-minute assignment. Well, like you can have fun all you want once you're done with that. Like it's just 30 minutes out your day.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna put business before pleasure. And that also, in my mind, is connected to having a reward system,
Yeah.
right? If I do this, then I can have that, right? All right. Now, I'm going to go back to motivation. I believe that we have motivational factors. We have specific factors that every time we do something, it's driving it or not driving it. So, if I say, for what you want to do in the future, if you want to be whatever that is, what's driving that, right? And some people may say, maybe it's money, right? I want to be able to make this amount of money or have this kind of security. Maybe it's power. Some people just want some power. Maybe it's benefits to society, right? Maybe it's recognition. Maybe it's being significant, right? You have to kind of know yourself, because with motivation or being able to motivate yourself, when you hit that brick wall, and we all do, that's just part of life, right? Nothing ever works the first time through, but when you get to that part of that brick wall where you're like, how do I keep moving forward? Should I tap out? Should I hold them? Should I fold them? If you go back to that motivational factor, then it may be like, oh, that's why I'm doing this. I want to be a physician because I love working with kids. And I want to still be able to heal kids. Or the motivational factor may not be enough. I want to be a doctor because my grandma wants me to be a doctor. But I've been getting beat down in the hospital and I'm on my last 24-hour shift, and that's not enough. I need to figure out another motivational factor where I'm just kind of good. But what I try to do, and this is just me, is that for everything that I do, before I even say yes to it, I try to identify why I'm doing it. And sometimes I'm just doing it for the cause. I'm just doing it because I love you. I'm just doing it because you're right. I don't want to do it, but I think about it. Because it may be something you can leverage later, if that makes sense. You guys with me? All right, what else? Social media, how do we figure out how to not pick that phone up? How do we figure out how to
Do
not?
not disturb on your phone.
Okay. So I'm just gonna put shut down. Phone. You know, everybody has to figure out a way to regulate themselves. Now, I'll say that I was a little extreme when I was going into finals. Right? When I was going into finals in college, like, you couldn't get a hold of me. Now, we didn't really have cell phones now, back then in them olden days like you guys have now. So you'd have to actually call my landline to get a hold of me. But pretty much on my answer machine, it was like, call me in 2 weeks. Like, unless I was studying with you, you couldn't get a hold of me. And I used to have little rituals too, where I put like a beanie cap on my head, and I just wouldn't take it off for 2 weeks. I would go to the shower with the cap, I would study with the cap, I would sleep with the cap. I'm like, anything that's going to my mind is going to stick there. And when the last part I was done, I would take the cap off. You're like, all right, I'm good to go. But, you know, at this stage right now in your life, you may be saying to yourself, you may be trying to prove to yourself, am I smart enough? Right? Like, am I capable enough? Am I one exam away from dropping out of this course? You know, such and such said this course is super hard. Am I going to pass this course? Right? There's a progression that happens as you matriculate as a student of science, where you go from maybe, am I not enough, to then, okay, I'm starting to get problems right. I think I got this, to then getting excited about challenging problems because it gives you a chance to grow, to then tackling the unknown. Right? You're hoping that you can make that maturation. No matter what stage you're at, it's okay because that's where you're at right now. Just know you're trying to get to that next stage, right? And it can be in different things, because you may feel a certain way about how you study your math and science course, but like, you don't feel that way about playing soccer. You don't feel that way about, you know, playing a musical instrument. I mean, you may have other areas in your life where you got into that place where you're like, boom, what's up? I got this, right? But you just may be feeling that way towards math and science at this moment. But the idea still is how to keep maturing, right? How to keep pushing yourself to get to that place where you're like, okay, I got this. So, alarm clock, y'all, right? For me too, sometimes, you know, when I used to work out, go to the gym, I'm waking up at 6 in the morning. Do I really want to get up and go to the gym? No, I'm tired. I don't want to get up and go to the gym, right? But, you know, my boy's going to meet me at the gym at 6:30. Damn, I got to get up now. I'm always happy after I got up and got to the gym and worked. I'm like, damn, I had to get up. But I had to have, you know, someone sometimes hold me accountable to get there, right? So if you know that you procrastinate, you may have to have a study buddy be like, Zach, get up, bro. Come on. No, we supposed to meet up at the library at 3 o'clock. Nah, bro. Come on. Because if you're sitting at the house by yourself in your chair, real comfortable, laying on your bed, doing whatever, you ain't gonna go. You're gonna be like, man, I'm gonna hit this tomorrow, right? Talk to me, y'all. Yeah.
I remember when I first needed to pass my physical exam, my bunkmate will do push-ups with me. Well, he's pretty much already over the top, but he pretty much tell me, oh, you should start with a little bit like 10 push-ups a day, and then when I get comfortable on that, move on to the next, At the end of that 2 months of training, I'll be able to pass my physical exam.
Nice. So he's saying that he kind of had a coach. He had somebody who was like a strength trainer saying, get your tail up and let's do these push-ups. And let's only do 10 right now. Right? And then maybe next week we're going to do 15 or 20 and you're going to keep expanding. And that's the same thing as still having a support system, right? Having somebody you can be accountable to.
We literally did that every night before we go to sleep.
Say that again?
We literally did that every night before we go to sleep. Because he was on my top bunk.
Okay, nice. All right, so 6, what strategies do you currently use to identify your negative habits? And that's the whole awareness piece. Right? Like, the first thing is to identify that this is something that we do that sometimes may sabotage us reaching our highest potential.
I've been like reading and like researching this like kind of like procrastination and productivity and stuff like that. Some people like recommend like making a chart of like your detailed activities. But another thing that I've heard and that I'm gonna try to start doing is seeing like if whatever you're doing at like a certain point of time is like you were meant to do it, or if it's like passive time. Like if you're just sitting scrolling on your phone and like you didn't mean to, like it wasn't like a blocked out time that you're allowed to like check your phone, and that means that it's just like wasted time. So I'm gonna try to just be more conscious about having more time that is kind of like directed at getting something done or towards like being productive, as opposed to just like passive. I just sat there just like, you know, let Netflix run for like an hour and a half, and I just sat there like that.
Okay, I'm going to put document your time and your activities. That's a really good strategy right there, tactic. Like, one of the things that I did when I was studying, matter of fact, one of the things that I just did, and I would just say that this is more automatic, so maybe it's a talent of mine, is I always paid attention to time. So if I'm reading a chapter in the book, in biology, how much time it took me to read that chapter? Okay, it took me 2 hours. I'm doing the problem set for biology. How much time did it take me to get through this problem set? Okay, it took me an hour and a half. How much time did it take me to read through this chapter in chemistry? Right? I always tracked how much time it took me to do things in the back of my mind, because it allowed me to then better manage when I have more things on my plate, how to make sure I can make those things happen. You know, for me, writing, I couldn't really manage my time in writing the same way I could doing problem sets. Because you could be writing something, you spend an hour and a half writing something, and it could just be all still crap. You're like, damn. Or you could be a good writer, you're like, boom, I'm writing this, I'm knocking it out in this amount of time. So those other courses that were more, I'll use the word touchy-feely, in the writing, connecting to your emotions type way, it was harder for me to actually manage my time in the way that I knew that I could or had practice doing when I was doing a problem set. But that can help you, right? Especially during finals, figure out how to juggle appropriately where you can get to the end and still keep all the balls in the air and still get the good grades that you guys want to achieve, right?
I have a few things to say, I guess. I don't know, I don't really know if it's a habit or anything like that. To be honest with you, I'm kind of structured, and that's why I do kind of well, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I deal with is fear.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the biggest things that I really deal. I don't really deal too much with the other things that we mentioned, but I have I kind of always start off my semester the same way. I try to nail everything from the jump. So if something does happen in the end, I have that cushion, and then I have to make sacrifices too, a lot of sacrifices. So for instance, there's a couple of days that I work 2 jobs. I don't have the ability to study like that. So when it comes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm pretty much up at the same time, at the place getting the same food, and then at the same place studying whatever it is that is most important at that time, all the way till they kick me out of that place. And that's because I have to do that. And that's so I guess what I'm saying is like, I have a structure that I follow, and I don't really deviate from that, and that's just how it is, because I don't have the ability to procrastinate. Like, because it seems like...
No, you do. You just choose not to.
Yeah, it just seems like... But for some reason, I mean, because it's a trip. It's like every single semester I do well, but it seems like I was this close to not doing well. It's like I'm just barely making it, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I can't waste any time at all, really, to be honest with you. It's just I've got a lot going on, and so it's like I have to use my time efficiently. And I also have to make decisions as far as, like, for instance, I'm sitting through a lecture right now in physics, and I don't understand it, right? And I have an exam coming up, but I have 2 more exams on Monday. That's what's important right now. So I need to focus all my attention to this coming up Monday, and then as soon as that's done, I got to shift all my attention to physics. You know what I mean? It's
Okay, so you said a lot.
yeah.
You know, fear can be a motivational factor, right? Fearing of failure can get people up and not have them procrastinate and do things that they normally would not do. Sometimes fear can immobilize people, right? Because I fear this, I'm like a deer in headlights. I can't move, right? So some of this in regards to fear is going to be your relationship to it. Now, at some point, that fear may just go. And you'll be like, I know I'm smart enough. I know I'm good enough. I'm still motivated. I'm still going to get up and have structure and have discipline and do those things. But it may not be driving you the same way it may be driving you now. Right? Has anybody ever heard of the imposter syndrome?
Yeah.
So it's just, you have people who don't believe that they belong. They don't believe that the things that they were able to accomplish in life, that it happened by chance or by luck. They may believe that they're a fraud and that someone's going to identify them and realize that they're not who they say they are or who their credentials are. And you have people who are highly accomplished that feel that way. For me, that's not a way to exist that you kind of want to go through in life existing. But, some of it still maybe connects to their self-esteem, right? The image that they have of themselves and the image that they have of themselves may be distorted. It may not be accurate, right? It may be something that your second or third grade math teacher told you weren't good at math, and you just believed it, and that was something that's programmed in the back of your mind, and it keeps coming up. You're not good at math, but it wasn't even yours. You just took that and absorbed that from somebody else, and now it's playing out in your space, right? So one of the things that I'll just preface, because I don't like to generalize, But if I'm gonna generalize, I'm at least say that I am generalizing and it's not everybody. But one of the challenges between the way society is for males and females, you can have sometimes a female that's good at like 10 things. And will focus on the 1 or 2 things they're not good at. It's like, you're good at 10 things, right? And I'll just keep it real, like my wife. When I first met her, you know, like for the most part, if you look at her accomplishments, she's done a lot. Undergraduate degree in mathematics, Spelman College, you know, master's degree in mathematics engineering, Johns Hopkins, PhD biostatistics from UC Berkeley. You know, I can ramble all this stuff. I'm like, and you're focusing on this. But the thing about boys and men and how we're socialized, you can be like, I'm the ugliest person in the world, but I'm good at this one thing. And because I'm good at this one thing, I have value, I can provide for you. Right? You'd be like, they're sitting there focusing on, I'm not good at these things. I'm like, no. I've identified the things that I'm good at and I'm claiming it, I'm trying to own that bug. Because as I was looking at my wife, I'm like, if I was you, I'm like, I am the shit. If I accomplish all the stuff that you did, and you focusing on these other 2 things, I'm like, for real? So sometimes we even have to go back and think how we have influences based on society, and we have to get out the stuff that doesn't serve us. It's not even correct. It's distorting our whole image of ourselves. Y'all feel me? She doesn't think that way now. But she had to kind of own all of who she was and all the things that she'd already done, and not think in her mind that like it happened by chance. No, Andrew, you're doing well because you're smart and you're putting in the time, period. As long as you continue to do that, you're going to continue to be successful.
I'll be honest with you though, I do feel like that sometimes, but you know what I mean?
I get it. A lot of people do, right? A lot of people do. But it's you knowing that and saying, I'm moving to getting to the other side of that, right? I'm trying to get to the other side of that, and you will.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I think I will too, and that's, it's part of me too, it's like I said, going back to, I'll get through something, and it's like, if I don't know how to do, and then this is the thing too, that's how I know that, so I'm getting better at it, because I'll take tests, and then I'll go in there with the anxiety, and then I'll leave, and then I'll be like, man, I did that wrong, and I know how to do it. Or somebody asks me a question, I freeze up, and then I don't know, and then I leave, and it's like, I know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I experienced that a lot. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know, but I noticed that I'm getting, so I have to look back at where I started though too, and where I'm at, and it's like, because then there is times where it's like, I'll look at this and I'll be like, I remember I struggled with that, and it's like, so it's just like you said, I want to learn everything, and it's like, when I haven't mastered every subject, it's that's what messes with me. To be honest with you, you know what I mean?
And it's you know, we can talk more about this, and I do have some workshops on this as well too. It's just, is the half glass full or is it half empty? Right? It's the same level. One person just thinks it's half full versus, so it's just, you know, and there's ways to get to the other side, and I think that what we're going to talk about to finish this lesson is going to be a part of that. All right, so quick exercise. All right, I want you guys to sit up in your chairs. So I don't want you guys slouching, and I want you guys to close your eyes. Ain't nobody looking at you right now. I'm not looking at you. And I just want you guys to listen to my voice, but at this moment, I want you guys to take 10 deep breaths. Right, I want you guys to slow down the chatter in your mind. Right, you're not thinking about school right now. You don't care who's next to you. You're just slowing down your thoughts and you're taking 10 deep breaths. So on my voice, I want you to inhale, 1, 2, 3. I want you to exhale, 1, 2, 3. So for the next few minutes, I want you to think about this statement that I'm about to say. I want you to focus on this statement with great thoughtfulness and great feeling. I want the ideas from this statement to fill your consciousness. And then afterwards, you can write down what comes to mind. But for the next few minutes, I want you to repeat this over in your mind. My mind is strong, and I have the ability to get A's in all of my classes this semester. My mind is strong, and I have the ability to get A's in all my classes this semester. My mind is strong. But you guys are silently observing the thoughts and the feelings that are coming up. And afterwards, you can write down whatever came to your mind. All right, I want you guys to spend one more minute and finish jotting down that last thought if you can. And for folks that have gotten your thoughts down, take a look at exercise or question number 8 and number 9. Just think about the thoughts that came out and if they're in any of those categories. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and go. So in general, how was it for folks? How was the meditation on that statement? My mind is strong. About to do some things this semester. Right?
Hopefully just think about the actions I should take forward to do to be able to get all these.
Okay, so you're thinking about what steps, what actions to take? Okay. Anybody else want to share anything?
It's kind of like self-motivating, like, you know, you keep saying it, like, you know, I can do it, like, if I'm really telling myself I can do it, then like, I should do it.
Okay. Okay.
Focus, concentrate on knowledge that are required from you to get a good grades on like this.
Okay.
For example, when I read a textbook, for some reason, it kind of dragged me down to the other side, reading about the history of mathematics, talking about certain mathematicians. And after this meditation, it kind of reminds me I should have people's history for later and focus on what they have developed.
Okay. So it has you reflecting on things that you potentially could do different moving forward. All right, what else? Did anybody have any negative thoughts that popped up into their mind during the time? By show of hands. It happens sometimes, it happens. Okay.
Stay between
So the way I think about this is we have our conscious thoughts. And you know, our thoughts is just electromagnetic wave, right? It's a wave that has a frequency to it. You know, our thoughts are just energy, right? Our conscious thoughts is, I'm gonna get an A. But your unconscious thoughts may be, hell no, you about to get a C. Right? They're out of phase with one another. And so sometimes we have to identify negative programming, negative thoughts that are causing us to maybe not reach our highest potential, right? We want these thoughts to be in phase. And you can imagine if your conscious thoughts and your unconscious thoughts are in phase, they're a lot more powerful. They're not canceling each other out. So the goal is to identify when we have thoughts that aren't serving us anymore, right? Thoughts that are sabotaging us from reaching our highest potential. And then eliminate them, right? Neutralize them, heal them. You guys with me? Are there any things that you guys believe you can do to do that?
Or like what I'm doing while I'm studying.
It could just be for you being able to identify a thought or a feeling that maybe is not allowing you to be the best version of who you want to be. How do you, maybe like your brother's mentioned a few times, how do you get yourself hyped? How do you hype yourself up? Go ahead.
It's like you can build your confidence all the time. Like every day you figure out a new question. Maybe a question you were struggling before, but now you get it. And you can like build your confidence upon this sense of achievement. You know, it might be tiny, but over time you kind of build. And that's how you can, to push you to a new level.
Okay, so it seems like you're saying you should reflect though, right? You should reflect and then build your confidence over time.
Right.
Okay.
It's like a Kaizen, like you got to improve every day. Say, and they got me something like to be chill about, every day in your endeavors. So you're not just like feeling bad, feeling negative about yourself. You can like something positive every day about yourself.
Okay. What else? What else can we do?
Music,
Sing it?
music, like.
Music?
Like,
Okay.
like music, like music.
Yeah, there's certain music that gets you motivated, certain music that gets you hyped up. Maybe you go to the gym, you want to work out, you got maybe, I mean, like music can change our attitude, it can change our feelings about ourselves, right? There's music that I listen to when I'm going into an interview where I'm getting myself hyped up. I have a whole playlist, it's called Optimistic, right? And I just hit that mug and be like, okay, who you are? Okay, that's who you are. I have to just get myself hyped up. What else?
Getting rid of self-doubt.
Okay, so eliminate fear and self-doubt. So fear is like a weed. Like in our mind, we all have fear, right? It's identifying where the weed is and then plucking it up by the roots. Now another one popped over here, oh damn, right? Because this new situation is causing me to feel a certain way, but it's still being able to identify it and then plucking it out, right? And after a while, maybe there's less of them in your space and you've cleared out a lot because you've done that work on yourself, right? Of identifying what it is and figuring out how to eliminate it. So affirmations is another way of positive self-talk. One of the most challenging things that I did early on in life was going to grad school and trying to figure out how to discover something new, knowing that 90 to 95% of the times experiments don't work. And so I had got offered a fellowship when I started grad school that I ended up not taking, but they sent me in the mail a sheet that had these 10 affirmations on it. And I just kept it and I put it on my desk, where my lab was. I just tape recorded, tape it to my desk. And every day I walked into, to work, and I just looked at the 10 things on that list. And I'll keep it real. That got me through a lot. Because folks are walking around depressed, looking like zombies because they're working on stuff and it's not working. And and I look at, oh, okay. And so positive affirmations for me are huge because it's one way to begin to cancel out sometimes negative thoughts or feelings. And so your homework assignment, if you choose to, I created 8 affirmations that you would be repeating one of these every day for 40 days. So 8 times 5 is 40. And what I would say to you is that I don't guarantee much in life, but what I will guarantee is that if you make it through these 40 days, and it have to be consecutive, if you make it through these 40 days, you will be a different person at the end than you were at the beginning. It will change you. I've given this curriculum as a course here at City College. I told you I gave you this curriculum as a course at UC Berkeley, right? And I'm gonna keep it honest. Usually only 10 to 15% of people make it through the 40 days. But I've seen students at Berkeley go from all B's that semester to straight A's. I've seen it here. The ones that get through, they're like, Dr. Moore, you got some more affirmation for me? Like, what's up? Because it changes you. When you read these affirmations and you start to meditate on these things, stuff is gonna start bubbling up that you didn't know really existed on the inside part of you. You're gonna be like, damn. And it's almost like peeling an onion, right? It's almost like if this is an onion, there's layers to it. So for statement number 1, and this is one that I use, especially when I'm taking an exam, when I hit a hard problem, an answer exists to all the problems that I seek a solution to. My job is to relax, open my mind, and allow that information to present itself. Especially when you're like, you have 7 minutes left. You're like, oh my goodness, I'm freaking out. I can't do these problems. Hold on, relax, friend. You got this. That solution exists, right? I have to just go back to the affirmation and be like, okay, this is who you are. Calm your tail down. Open yourself up and let it come to you. So, these workshops, they're not about you doing work to get a grade in the course, right? This is the most important work that you can do for yourself because this is self-work. You're only going to get as much out of it as you put into it. You're trying to unlock yourself. Only you may even have an idea of what's blocking you from reaching the highest level that you can be as a human being on this planet. And I'll use the word, you may have an idea. But we have to develop practices to always continuously uncover, heal, neutralize, expand upon who we are. So again, we can grow that little bit every day and be better tomorrow than we were today. Talk to me, y'all. What y'all thinking?
What was the question again?
What y'all thinking? How y'all feeling? I just said a whole lot. Now I'm just checking in.
It's definitely, I can say, it's definitely informational, like, very motivational, all like, when I first talked about like the meeting we had, I was talking about all this self-doubt stuff. And we had this workshop, I'd say really really informational and good to hear about how to like overcome them and like what like it's like I'm not the only one that's like going through all of them. So like it's pretty cool. It's definitely like
No,
Good like learning experience to go.
you're definitely not the only one, and it's you know, I know that, failure is an opportunity for growth. It's not that I like it, where, ooh, let me just fail at something, right? Like I like W's, I like to win. I like to approach something and think about it strategically and figure out how to have a positive outcome every time. But I'll tell you one thing, that if I'm not successful at something, I'm damn sure not gonna approach that thing the same way again and think I'm gonna have a different result. I wanna sit back and analyze. What was my approach? What steps did I take? Damn, let me modify, let me refine, you know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't gonna happen that way again. I'm not saying I'm not gonna fail again because that's part of life. But I'm at least gonna reflect and do the work to figure out how to learn from it, right?
So actually, that's how I ended up finding out about this place. So this is like a while back. So I had to take this English class, right? And we learned about intrinsic and extrinsic or whatever minds and all that. And so there's some people that we all share these certain traits, but it's whatever we feed the most. And it's like I ended up having to read this paper, write an essay on it. And it made sense, and I actually used that to help me in a situation. So it was like it was basically there's some people that could fail at something and give up, and there's some people that could fail at something and it pretty much it'll light a fire under them, you know what I'm saying? And I have a situation like that where so I had a gap in my education, and I was taking calculus 1 a while back, and I got a D on the midterm, and I've never got a D on any test. And that's when I was at that place. I didn't even know about it. I ended up going to, and that's who sent me over here. And I was at that place every day. Every day that I'm talking about, I go to work, get off, go straight there every day. And then I had a D on the final, right? I mean, not on the final, but the midterm. And then I ended up getting a on the final. And she gave me an A because of she basically curved me, and she said, because when a student shows that much of a like progression, they earn the A, you know what I'm saying? I didn't even know that I said, that was before I even knew what I had as a GPA. I thought I was just doing, but that was one of those situations where, I had a choice. I could have gave up and said, I can't do this, or I did, you know what I mean? And I chose that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And it's when we have, failure or disappointment, right, in that moment, when you're making that decision, like, what I'll say to you is this: how you deal with failure now is going to replicate to how you deal with failure later, right? If you have a class where I didn't get a good grade on this exam, so I'm going to withdraw, then that's how you're going to potentially deal with failure later, right? And it's almost like, okay, now you have a job and you have a presentation, but you get sick the night before. Are you not going to get up and do the presentation? Right? Like finding ways to push through no matter what, locking in that mindset that like, no retreat, no surrender. I have to figure out a way to move forward. It's going to be the way that you lean towards for the rest of your life. So I just feel like I had times like that along my educational journey too. And I call them critical junctures where I had to prove to myself in that moment who I wanted to be. And it's not easy, right? It's not easy when you don't know the outcome. Like you didn't know the outcome or what was going to be at the end of the semester. But something in you had to fight. Something in you had to believe that like this is going to be the best way for you to move forward. But each person has to figure that out for themselves. But they're all opportunities for growth in my mind. Yeah, it's, you know, the beauty for me, as you guys are students of sciences, students of science going through this journey, is that every concept, every class, all gives you the ability to discover who you are in that moment. Every new concept. Do I tap out after 10 minutes? Do I stick with it? Do I ask for help? Do I try to use my resources? Right? Like every new class. But depending on what your relationship is to that, and as it grows and expands and gets built up, you know, you gather or you gain what I would call internal power. Right? Like you can't fake your way through the sciences. There's a lot of other different disciplines where you can have a good talk game and you can have a good write game and be phenomenal. But here in the sciences, I don't care what you say. I don't care about what you believe that you think you know. If you can't solve that problem, huh? What? Right? And even if you can't, even if you solve the problem, if you can't explain to me all the steps along the way for why it actually is right, you still don't know nothing. You kind of, you guys are building real strength. And you can apply that to anything you do in life. So that's the beauty of being a student of science. I'm on this journey.
Yeah, we're going over differential equations right now. We're using everything we learned in Calc 1, 2, and 3 all in one problem.
Yeah. But you know, things are being scaffolded for you, and you're reaching higher levels. When you get to upper division, you're gonna be using all this stuff and even more, and then it's gonna be more second nature to you.
That's what I'm
Right?
saying.
And then if you decide to be an engineer that works for NASA or whatever, you're gonna be people who are gonna operate on, you're gonna be like, damn, I didn't know people could operate, and you're gonna start ratcheting it up too. And you're all of a sudden, you're gonna be like, damn, you know, I helped build this, I helped do such and such. But it all starts at the beginning. We all have to have an entree into this big ocean of like, you know, science and math, right? And you guys are putting pillars in place to have structures that you guys can build something that's strong for the rest of your life, right?
That's what it feels like. Like in the beginning, I was struggling with math, and then now I'm at the end, it's like I feel real comfortable with math. Now I'm starting programming, and I'm struggling with it because I'm not comfortable with it yet. But that's all it is it's like you said, the time and putting the effort in. And then pretty soon I know I will. Even though I feel uncomfortable now, I know there's gonna be a time where I won't feel like that. As bad, at least. I'll feel a little comfortable. If that makes any sense. Like I won't be.
There may be a time when you just don't feel like that anymore. We're gonna say that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close this workshop down. But you guys have your assignments if you choose to, you know. I'm not gonna collect no one's homework. You know, if you decide to get through it and you want to report back to me at some point, you know, holler at your boy. But you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next month, okay?